There's a book by Atul Gawande called On Being Mortal. It's really an excellent book. And in it, he has 3 rules for successful old age. One is retain a sense of purpose. The second is maintain your social connections. And the third is stay mobile. And that's what this talk is about. It's about staying mobile. So, disabled and older adults in the U.S. include 100 million people. This may surprise you, but it's about a third of the country are disabled or older. Assistive technologies can enable them to work, to get to work and work, or to age in place and stay in their homes. The assistance includes transportation, work coaches, counseling coaches, and new combinations of competencies will be needed, people qualified to work on the Geek Squad or the Genius Bar and support disabled and older adults, whole new professions. And as you'll see later when I talk about it, the driverless cars that we're going to focus on will need daily maintenance to calibrate sensors and other things. So there's a bunch of new jobs there too. But this is really not about those jobs. Just quickly, this is just the population. You see, right now it's about 100 million. In another 20 years will be another 10 million. So the population is aging, as you well know. So what does the population need? Well, employment. I've been working with a company called Source America. They have 50,000 disabled employees. 70+% of them have mental health challenges. They need employment. There are plenty of jobs, but they have to be able to get there. And if the caregiver is their parent who has to drive them both ways, sometimes the caregiver doesn't work. So there's a lot of complications. And then aging in place, being able to do the activities of daily life is another need, and these are complementary needs. And we need to meet physical assistance, sensory assistance, and cognitive assistance. So basically, a lot of the disabled are in wheelchairs, but a lot of them have other issues. So what's cognitive assistance? Okay, and what tasks does this support? How does it work? I'm about to show you that in a minute. How does AI fit into this? Because artificial intelligence is an important part of it, and the AI state-of-the-art is important. And there are various platforms, smartphones and tablets, driverless cars, and you really would like seamless interactions. When you get in the driverless car and you have a cognitive assistant, you want it to be able to connect to the car as well. You don't want another device. Okay, so you want it to be all seamless. Well, here's the coach. This is a real thing. It's in your iPhone. It's attached to your arm. You have headphones. In some cases, you have a camera. And from a job coach point of view, it knows your job. Okay, we have this deployed in 19 military commissaries, grocery stores, with workers using this to restock shelves. And the job coach knows all about the job and knows it can sense where you are, it can sense what you're looking at, and can give you help. Can tell you, for example, you're supposed to be refreshing the vegetables aisle, canned vegetable aisle, but you're not in that aisle, for example. Now, the interesting thing is you also need a counseling coach, because what we found sometimes, especially because these employees have mental challenges, is it shifts from not knowing what to do next in the job to being afraid. So now from your voice, your words, your tone, we can sense that you're afraid. You need different kind of help then. Same thing in the house. You're doing cooking and you're suddenly very confused. You forgot what you were doing. It's not just a question of what's the next step. Okay? And this is where the AI comes in. The job coach is already deployed and working well. The counseling coach is under development, but this is real. And so far in the commissaries, people's job performance ratings have gone up and retention has gone up because people have these things to assist them. Now, How does it do this? So I was in a meeting recently. A fellow was reporting on machine learning and how it could detect and identify Chinese naval vessels from aerial photographs. And it had been trained to do this. And I said to him, okay, now you know what the vessels are. Can you tell me whether they're going to attack Taiwan? And he said, well, if you can give me photographs of the last 10,000 times they attacked Taiwan, I can do it. Okay? So not everything is simply pattern recognition in that sense. So we've got symbolic logic, we've got neural nets, and rather than go through the detail in this slide, this is, I think, an important thing. Machine learning, deep learning can help with statistical models, but the rule-based models are still important. A good example is you could not get a machine learning algorithm to teach you how to do algebra. It could probably do algebra, but it has no idea why it's doing it. Okay, so the symbolic logic part is still very important, and it's an important part of the wearable coach. There's also an issue of trust. Okay, how do you come to trust this coach? And so far, our evaluations, which have been very qualitative, is basically, obviously, when it just does the wrong thing all the time, you don't trust it. And when it does the right thing all the time, you do trust it. But there's middle grounds, okay, where sometimes it could be misleading, or it doesn't know everything that you know. So this issue of trust deserves some good attention. Now, the public-private partnership involves the automobile companies. Auto Alliance represents about 70% of the auto production in the world. We've been working with General Motors, Ford, working with the small AI companies, working with the advocacy groups. Source America is a good example. AARP for older folks. So there's a whole bunch of people involved. And the reason they're involved is because of what I'm about to show you, other than just plain old goodwill. So where's the revenue and the savings? We can sell cars and we can sell services. People are probably not going to buy these driverless cars. They're going to cost about $100,000 each. They're very high tech. They're going to probably buy services. Okay, and then there's savings. The people who go to work, the disabled people, come off of a Social Security disability. The people who age in place in their home don't go to assisted living or nursing homes. Okay, some percentage. I'm not saying this is going to solve every single problem, but there's a bunch of revenue and savings. What's the projected revenue? Now, it depends on the market penetration, but you can see here we're going to make a lot more money from selling services of cars than selling cars. Okay, the cars are still significant. I mean, nothing wrong with $100 billion of car sales annually. Okay, but the car services are very, very significant. You're providing services to 100 million people, depending on your market penetration, of course, and they're going to want to take us on the average of 1 to 2 transportation events a day. So there's quite a bit of transportation happening. The potential annual savings is not quite as high, but nothing wrong with $250 billion of savings. So what's the overall projection? The OEMs and transportation provider services will see between $90 and $800 billion in annual revenue, depending on the market penetration. SSDI, Medicaid, and private payers will see savings between $50 and, say, $300 billion annual savings, depending on the market penetration. So this is a $1 trillion annual opportunity. It has not been difficult to get people involved in this at all. Okay. Now, there is a question of who is going to earn that money, and the car manufacturers and the AI companies, et cetera, are all wondering about whether it's going to be them, but they're all pretty convinced this is going to happen over time. So I think I have one more slide. Oh, the public-private partnerships. Again, the OEMs and transportation service providers. The government could justify substantial investments in research if they could save $250 billion a year. That would seem to be to justify a bit of funding from NIH, NSF, et cetera. And the advocacy groups have been very good at articulating, communicating needs. We run a series of 3 workshops here at the Keck Center. The first one was May 3rd, and it was focused on the needs. We had all the advocacy groups there, identified 134 needs for disabled and older adults to use driverless cars. Now, a lot of these are connected to each other, so it's not 134 unique needs. The next workshop is July 19th. Here again at the Keck Center, focus on, okay, what are the technologies for meeting those needs? And the third workshop is September 10th, is what are the policy and revenue and economic implications of doing that? And this is open to the public, sponsored by the Auto Alliance. One last slide. Innovations in urban environments are going to begin in urban environments because you need scale. Some of the things we're talking about could certainly benefit people in rural environments, but you need scale to prove these things out. And so we need to start in the urban environments. As they mature, innovators will seek growth in suburban and rural areas. These trends will result in creation of millions of new jobs. For example, to provide nightly maintenance. Okay, I don't know exactly what the jobs are. I don't know how those jobs will be technology enabled, but there was an OECD meeting here a few weeks ago, and everybody was bemoaning from the 10 countries that all work is going to disappear, and only 35% of their workforces will be employable. I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of opportunities, as I've illustrated here. Now, I have to admit, as the meeting went on, the people around the room kept on referring to me as Professor Rouse the Optimist. But I think there's a tremendous opportunity here to benefit disabled and older adults and create a lot of economic benefits in the process. So thank you.